And welcome to another episode of the Bandit Room. My name is Charles. I'm joined here in the studio today by Mr. Caleb.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us again. And across to the table from me, we have Chef Chris Coleman. Thank you for joining us, Chef.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So you are the, what is your role? Are you head chef? Are you executive chef? What do you have a title there?
Yeah, I kind of like just to call myself the chef partner.
Just the chef partner.
Yeah.
Chef partner
Yeah.
at Old Town Kitchen here in Rock Hill.
Right.
Also Goodyear House in Charlotte.
Right, correct.
And you may have also seen him recently on the Food Network. He's made a few appearances on Guy's Grocery Games. You've been on Chopped, beat Bobby Flay. Alex versus America?
Yep, Alex versus America.
Gotcha. And perhaps something coming up maybe in the future lined up?
Yeah, I just announced the other day I've got, I filmed an episode of Super Chef Grudge Match, which airs on Tuesdays at 9, and my episode will air for the first time on March 28th.
Wow.
So,
Coming up.
pretty cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Exciting. Now, one doesn't get to that level in just a few years. How long have you been in the industry?
So I've been in the industry since I was 14. I'm 39 now, so over half my life, well over half my life. And started in the front of house as a busboy at a fish camp. I think some of your listeners might know what a fish camp is, right?
Sure.
It's fried fish and baked potatoes and salad bars and such.
Was that here in the Carolinas?
It was in Huntersville, North Carolina. So I live in Charlotte, but it was in Huntersville, North Carolina, just north of Charlotte, and really fell in love with the restaurant industry. And what really catapulted me into being a chef was on the weekends. So I started as a busboy, moved back into their takeout room because that was kind of a thing.
Okay.
And then on the weekends, they would have me expedite. The expediter is really kind of the role that connects the kitchen to the servers, because you're the one who's putting the food together. Like, the kitchen puts plates up in the windows and you're the ones, the expediter puts it out for the servers to pick up.
Gotcha.
So from that vantage point, you see how the kitchen operates, you see how the back of house service operates. And I loved it and kind of knew at that point that this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
Gotcha.
So
Started at 14. I'm assuming that was your first real job. Then,
yeah, that was my first job.
Yeah, a lot of first jobs starting kitchens.
Yeah. Or restaurants in general, right?
Yeah,
I think I was expediting when I was 16, 17.
Gotcha.
I worked at that restaurant until I was 17, and then I graduated high school. Took a year to go to UNC Charlotte, just trying to figure out, how to pursue what I wanted to do. And I was going to be a graphic designer, and, I think that I was trying to kind of push that, like, you should be in restaurants, voice in my head, like to the side a little bit, because restaurants are extremely stressful and kind of hard to make a living in.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll be a graphic designer, because this is 2001 when everyone wanted to be a graphic designer.
Yeah.
But after a year of art school, I was like, this is dumb. Like, I should go to culinary school. Like, that's what I would love, and that's what I want to do every day.
Well, the voice in your head wasn't wrong. I mean, it is stressful, and it is hard to make a living in there.
Yeah.
So what are some tips that you would give to somebody trying to make it in that field? What do you attribute your success to?
Honestly, I attribute a lot of my success to just being open and being willing to change and kind of accept things on the fly, and pivot kind of came into all of our vocabularies in 2020. But if you're in the restaurant industry, you're pivoting all the time. So that's always been like, how do we make this work? It's kind of like an art job and an engineering job rolled into one, because you're creating stuff, but then you're also kind of engineering, like, how do we do this same thing over and over and over again? And what if the tomatoes that came in today aren't as sweet or as acidic as the tomatoes we got in last week? And what if the beef is, a little bit smaller than what we normally get? And so it's kind of like you're constantly having to adapt and change and grow.
It's like crisis after crisis, and you got to manage that as you go. You can't
Which
just be
fun.
hit with it and be like, oh, I need some time to deal with this. You got to immediately just kind of figure out muscle memory as to how you're going to fix that.
So I think, to get back to your question, it's, I kind of embrace that.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoy that part of the job, is figuring things out on the fly. I am a planner. Like if you talk to other chef friends, they'll tell you that I'm like probably one of the most kind of calm, like planning ahead type chefs that they know. I want everything to go the way that I want it to go. But it doesn't. And I'm okay with that, you know? So I'm okay to kind of constantly be pivoting.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have to be, I guess.
Yeah, you do.
To really make it work without just pulling your hair out every day.
You do.
Yeah.
And at this point in my career, with being a partner in both restaurants, and I obviously can't be at the stove at both restaurants. So we have chefs who run, you know, I have a chef de cuisine at Goodyear House, a chef de cuisine down here in Rock Hill at Old Town. And those are the guys who are really running the kitchens day to day, whereas I'm just kind of bouncing around wherever's needed, and kind of planning what comes next, because we are planning concepts number, honestly, 3, 4, and 5 right this second. They're all in various stages of development. So that's what I'm focusing on right now. So another, you know, this is kind of a very long-winded answer to your original question, but you also realize to be where I'm at now, you have to take care of your people and invest in your people. And that's the biggest thing. People are the most expensive part of running a restaurant, but they are also the most valuable part of running a restaurant, is creating relationships, taking care of your staff, your employees, the people that you work with, your restaurant family. And when you invest in your people, they will invest in your ideas and your vision. I mean, it's like that in any industry, but especially in something that's kind of grueling and grinding and hard work.
A lot of people, like we were talking about, like a lot of people's first jobs come in a restaurant, something like that. My first job was in a restaurant. What kind of skills do you think it develops? There's not a whole lot of other career fields like it where you're running almost kind of like the military. There's a defined order of command in a kitchen. You're all focused on the same thing. A crisis affects everybody, that sort of thing. Talk a little bit about that. What kind of skills and things like that does it help? Yeah. The
restaurant industry will either chew you up and spit you out, or it will like hone you into like, you know, a weapon of destruction for good. So
that's a good quote. That's a good quote.
It's you know, I've worked with a lot of people over the years that there's no in between. You're either in it or you're not in it. And there are certainly restaurant lifers who aren't necessarily passionate about hospitality, but they're really good at it, and so they kind of fall on the side where they're just restaurant lifers. Yeah. You know, if you're going to start out in a restaurant, I think that the biggest thing it does, and we've talked about this a lot lately with some of our younger staff, is it really opens you up and broadens your world perspective like faster than any other job, because you're working with people of every age, every race, every religion, sexual orientation, everything. It's a microcosm of the world in one building. Yeah. You know, and if you go to work at
you've got to get along.
Yeah, you've got to get along. Yeah. You have to. And you know, it really does kind of impact a lot of our younger people. You know, we have people who start as runners or bussers, and they might still be in high school, and it helps them as they're preparing to go away for college, to kind of already be in that mindset. They've already been exposed to a lot of things, right? Right. We've had several people especially specifically at Goodyear House, who have written, you know, their college entrance letters and talked about their work preparing them for college. Yeah. And so I feel like that's a big thing is, it's problem solving. It's worldview. You know, it's tenacity. It's, you know, it can be loyalty, which is a good thing, I think, if it's a good restaurant. Right. Obviously, if it's a bad restaurant, then, you know, that kind of goes out the window. But, you know, I don't know. There is no other industry like it, and it certainly takes a different breed of people to appreciate it and want to work in it. You know, we're all crazy. But I do think it really kind of instills a lot. I firmly believe, and you'll hear a lot of industry people say this, everyone should work in the industry for at least 2 or 3 years because it completely changes how you interact with people, like completely. So, you know, you get a customer who comes in who yells at their server over something dumb.
Right.
You know, they've never worked in the industry. It's like, you know, these are people. Like they're not machines. They're going to make mistakes.
That's true.
These are people.
Just like in our field, if anybody spends any time in customer service, you're going to be a lot more, you're going to deal with people on the phone a lot more like a human than somebody who's standing between you and what you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fascinating. Now talk a little bit about that kitchen work culture. You've been in the industry for a while. Are you seeing a lot of differences between when you first started to how things are today?
So I'm the anomaly. I got my first executive chef job when I was 21 years old. Really, really young at a place called McNench House Restaurant in Uptown Charlotte. Yeah. Still there. And it was literally me and 2 or 3 other people in the kitchen at a time. And that included dishwashers and everybody. Like we were a really small staff. So I didn't really come up in the old guard of a chef, you know, being the general and yelling and throwing pans and that kind of stuff. I never really experienced it. You know, talking to, obviously I know a lot of people in the industry and some came up in that and some were like me and were lucky enough not to. But, you know, I was running that kitchen at such a young age that I was still kind of figuring out who I was as a chef and who I wanted to be. And I knew I didn't want to be that. Like I had friends who were working for chefs who were like that at my same age. So a big part of our company is that we want to change restaurant culture and change kitchen culture to be more inclusive and be more, you know, I don't want to say soft because there is still expectations that have to be met, but be more, you know, graceful, full of grace. That's important to us. Kitchens as a whole definitely changed a lot in the last 10 years. Kitchen culture has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And since COVID, it's really changed. It's been a complete, you know, we opened Goodyear House a month and a half before the shutdown, which I saw a lot of friends' restaurants go out of business during that time. We were really lucky. But just the change from that month and a half that we were open until when we reopened after COVID, and the mentality of people working in restaurants completely changed. I think for the better, personally. I think, you know, you'll hear a lot of chefs say that cooks and bartenders and people are more entitled now, or they don't want to work or whatever. And I don't believe that. I feel like people have they realized what their worth was, and now they want to be paid and they want to be treated like human beings, and they want to be able to take the occasional Saturday off, and that's cool. You know, we all want that. So I think it's changed for the better. COVID just compressed the time of something that would have taken 5 or 10 years. It's just like overdrive.
Who would you say would be one of your biggest influences as a chef?
My family.
Yeah.
I think, most chefs' first culinary instructors are either their mom or their grandmother. And for me, it was both. And I talk at length a lot about both of them. But yeah, my family, for sure, biggest influence.
How early were you cooking as a kid?
I think I was always interested in food and kind of seeing what mom was doing. I think the first thing that I was making, when I first started cooking on my own, I was probably like 10.
You do the same with your kids?
I'm teaching them a little bit. I have 2. I have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. My son knows how to do a few things. Ellie, my daughter, isn't really interested in food right now anyway. For her, it's just kind of something that you kind of have. Mom makes me sit there 3 times a day and eat. But, you know, Luke, I am definitely teaching him how to make some things.
there's definitely an argument that the whole pandemic COVID experience really did speed a lot of changes up that were going to happen eventually, good or bad. Like, you mentioned people going out of business during that time. I don't want to disparage anybody, but a lot of the time you can take a look at something, and if the business model wasn't working, it really wasn't working during COVID.
Right.
So, there was all sorts of other things to attribute that.
I'm the media guy here, so
Yeah.
I do all the video, I do this stuff. I tend to nerd out about like movies and TV show and how the production works, and like, so I'm curious behind the scenes what reality TV is like. Is it long days? How much of it's actually scripted? That sort of stuff.
Yeah.
When I talk about the experience,
talk about one of your recent experiences,
Sure.
whichever you prefer to talk about.
So Chopped was the first show I ever did, and it was kind of like, for me, that was the show I wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's a show that I grew up watching and was like, it seems like a pressure cooker, having to kind of think on the fly. And it was I've done it twice. The first time I won, so they invited me back. Second time I didn't do so well on, but that first day that I won, they told me to expect a 12-hour day. It ended up being about 10 hours, which was a nice break. But it's a lot of kind of sitting around and waiting. It's a lot of sitting in a room and kind of waiting for them to say, okay, we're ready for you now. There's nothing scripted about the actual cooking process at all.
Gotcha.
With Chopped, you don't know what's in the basket until you open the basket. There's no hints. There's no secrets. You open the basket. They give you like about a minute to go look through the pantry area while they clear they literally are just clearing the basket off your station and setting it up. But then it's go, and it's like it starts and stops when the time starts and stops. So
what's the time on that one? Was that like an
it's
hour?
20 minutes for the first
Gotcha.
round. It's 30 for the additional 2 rounds.
Okay.
So it's pretty intense, but it is a lot of, for filming actual cooking, adding up to an hour and 20 minutes, you're there for 10 hours.
Right.
It tells you how much time you're just kind of like twiddling your thumbs, right? All the shows, and I don't think I'm giving anything away that I shouldn't, but it's interesting because all the shows, they have basically 1 or 2 cameramen who are assigned to you. They have a producer who is assigned to you, and they are standing there with a notepad, and they are furiously taking notes, everything you do. Because after you're done filming, whether you're chopped, you're kicked off, whatever the show is, or you win, then you go into interview, and you do interview for anywhere from 30 minutes if you're an early exit, or an hour and a half if you've been there all day and you won.
Gotcha.
And they tell you exactly what you did and what order you did it in, and you basically repeat and say, so next I grabbed some shallots and I did a fine dice, and I, because then they're going to add those clips in voiceover. So it's pretty interesting. And sometimes some of the shows, they work backwards. They say, well, let's talk about the last thing you did, and then we'll talk about, and some shows they start at the beginning and work forward. So really all the shows, again, nothing really scripted at all.
That's cool.
It's what you see on TV is what it actually is.
Yeah.
Alex versus America, you don't know what you're going to be cooking until you decide as a team what you're cooking on. Bobby Flay. Bobby Flay's a little different because you bring in your signature dish.
Gotcha.
So in the first round, you're going up against another chef, and Bobby reveals what the secret ingredient is you have to use. And then if you make it to the second round, you already know what you're doing. He just doesn't know what you're doing. So you announce, well, for me, I did a chicken and rice stew. I do that. And then he's kind of like, oh, okay, cool. So then he's kind of scrounging in the pantry, whereas I know exactly they printed out my recipe for me, and they're like, here you go. Because they want, you're making television. At the end of the day, they want good content.
Right.
That's all you're doing. You're just creating entertainment. So.
I don't have any personal experience, but I've heard a lot of people talk about the experience of other reality TV shows and how much is scripted and how much they, sort of fake the moments, and they're like, at least set up the scenario so that they get in conflict or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's cool to hear that it's like actually real, because you never know.
I did meet a chef one time who was on She was from France, and she was on Top Chef France. And she talked about how if you got to the end of your cooking time and on a quick fire or something, and you weren't done, the producers would kind of, or if your dish was crap, like just not good, the producers would say, we're going to give you an extra 10 minutes to button this up, because again, they're making an entertainment. They don't want someone who's like got a half finished plate, or a dish that's just awful. They want it to be good, so
that's interesting.
Which is cool. All the producers are like, it's our job to make you look good.
Right.
So.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's cool. And it's a little different than like saying, this is how this is all going to play out. Like, giving a little extra time. So, So it sounds like Chopped was your sort of dream show you wanted to be on. Are there other ones you enjoy or want to be on, or you're...
Everything I've done has been amazing. I mean, every show is a different process. Guys Grocery Games, which was the last one that aired, was the most intense thing I've ever done.
Really?
It was insane. I mean, you're literally in a grocery store, and you've got 30 minutes to push around a shopping cart and find the ingredients.
An actual grocery store?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's a set.
Well, yeah, but
it's an actual grocery store inside of a set.
Okay, gotcha.
You're pushing around an actual shopping cart, have to find the ingredients, and then prep them and cook them and plate them in 20 minutes. And it's a full size like Publix or Food Line or whatever.
Intense.
So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I'll probably audition at some point for Top Chef, and that would kind of be it. That would be, that's the top thing now.
That's cool. Is this all stuff that you auditioned for, or is it sort of like you got the first one and then it sort of snowballed, or is there like I'm just curious.
No, there's an audition. So there's an audition process for every show. Some of them are longer and some are real short. But once you do one, if you're good, whether you win or lose, if you're entertaining, if you make good content, they're going to call you back to at least audition for others. I have a good friend, I say a good friend. I met her while we were filming Guys Grocery Games. She was also filming an episode. We weren't on the same episode. And she has since done Chopped. She hasn't done well on either one of them, but they're going to keep calling her back because she's really entertaining and fun to watch. So Chopped was a really intense interview process. Bobby Flay was a pretty intense interview process. It's gotten a little less intense each time I've done it. With the Super Chef Grudge Match one, they just called and said, "Do you want to be on this show?"
Nice.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
You're on.
Nice.
That was about it. So it's cool. Yeah,
that is cool.
Good.
Yeah.
Now they're just calling you direct. That's
Calling
fantastic.
you right up. Express Tax Exempt is now tax990.com. We changed our name to make it even easier to recognize us, but everything you know and love about Express Tax Exempt is still here. Tax990.com still provides you with easy Form 990 filing, free schedules, great customer support, and much more. Learn more at tax990.com. You've met Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the
Fieri.
legend.
Fieri.
I'm not gonna get that right.
That was that was spelled out for us. They were like, it's spelled Fieri, but you pronounce it Fieri. And if you say Fieri, especially to his face, he will be upset. So it's Guy Fieri, but yes.
Thank you for setting us straight.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. What was he like in person?
He's the coolest guy.
Yeah.
He's very, very cool. He's most of the chefs, celebrity chefs that I've gotten to work with have been very just cool, kind of down to earth people. They used to be in kitchens, now they're not, but they still get it. There's been a couple that haven't been so gracious and so fun to work with, but Guy was, He rolled in like a rock star, and it's like you're watching.
Pull up in the convertible.
He had a Jeep that was like lifted, and
flames on the side.
But he's got rings on every finger, and his hair is, he's got the glasses on the back of his head and stuff, and he's walking around with his French bulldog just following him everywhere he goes.
Nice.
But he was so cool, and he was just very, very chill, very down to earth.
Yeah.
Well,
did he say anything memorable by chance? I'm leading towards something with all
this. Oh, okay.
Okay. So anything memorable he said? Any
quotes or anything like that stuck out to you from your time with him? Maybe about Flavortown or
something. They definitely referred, and he definitely referred to the show as Flavortown. And, hey guys, welcome to Flavortown. And, it's your first times here in Flavortown, and we heard a lot of Flavortown.
Fantastic.
Well, that's perfect because
that's a good transition.
To play this for you here.
Okay.
Buckle up for Flavortown, Guy Fieri's greatest hits. The part of the show where we find out how well our guest knows Guy Fieri quotes.
That's amazing.
So we're gonna quiz you. We got 6 quotes.
6 quotes about.
Some of them are real.
Flavortown.
Some of them
or
are
Guy
fake.
Fieri.
Yes.
Okay.
They're all about Flavortown.
Okay.
They're all potentially quotes by Guy Fieri.
Yes. Your job is to tell me which one's
which one's real,
which one's real,
fake.
which one's fake.
Okay.
So here's the first one. We're taking you on a road rockin' trip down to Flavortown, where the gravitational force of bacon warps the laws of space and time.
So is this real or is this fake?
That's fake.
You think
I
that's
wish
fake?
he would say something.
No,
no!
He did.
It's real.
It's real. It's in the books.
The gravitational force of bacon.
It's at least.
I wish it said bacon wraps the laws. Like a bacon
that would be
wraps
even better.
law. That'd be amazing.
Wow.
It sounds delicious too.
It does.
A bacon wrapped law.
And
of time and space. I like it.
You want to read this one?
Oh, no, too far.
It's fake.
It's fake. Okay, well, this one's Flavortown isn't just a destination; it's a state of mind. And
that seems more realistic.
I know,
than the
right?
First one.
I know. I want to be the ambassador to Chimichanga Flavortown.
Oh my goodness. Fake.
That one's real.
Ugh.
He did say that.
Mo for 2.
It's all good.
I want to be the ambassador to Chimichanga Flavortown.
The road to Flavortown is paved with bacon, and we're about to take that road all the way to Flavor Nirvana.
That is real.
Oh
my goodness.
This one was made up.
No way.
I mean, maybe he said that in his private life.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
don't know. Maybe he said it to you directly.
Yeah, maybe he did.
No, he didn't.
No.
But I could see him saying that on like
Yeah.
diners, drive-ins, and dives or something.
Yeah, it is that kind of an intro quote that he would lead
Yeah.
into a restaurant with. Yeah, for sure.
That's awful.
You're like a blackjack dealer at the Flavortown casino.
I'm going to say real.
Indeed. One more, last one. That deep fryer looks like the community pool in Flavortown. That's my favorite one.
It's a good
amazing.
line. It's a good line regardless.
Oh, man. Fake or real? Fake or real? Fake.
It's definitely one of those.
That one's
It's
real.
real. The deep fryer looks like a community pool in Flavortown.
Good job.
Is there
Fantastic.
a slide? I
Good
think
job.
I was 1 of 5.
Fantastic. Oh, you
That's
good.
great.
No, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
We'll give you points on that last one. You said
Yeah.
real or fake.
Really.
Said or real or fake.
So you were partly right.
Yeah.
So
That was half
the
right.
real ones were really pulled from him. The fake ones, we used ChatGPT to come up with fake sounding.
That's what
Guy
it
Fieri
was, is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yep.
We were speaking a little bit before about movies and TV portrayals of restaurant life, kitchens, things like that. Do you have any favorites, or is it something that it's hard for you to watch as somebody who's in the field?
So, we spoke before we started
Yeah.
the recording now about The Bear, which was kind of the breakout hit.
Right.
And I I watched about an episode and a half and turned it off because it was too intense. I mean, it's like more intense than watching like The Last of Us or something. Like I was like, oh, so I couldn't do it. Yeah. A lot of other friends of mine were really into it and like, this is awesome, and they finally got it right. And they're kind of portraying kitchen life correctly. It was the most realistic, but that's also why I didn't like it. Because it was the most realistic. There's other ones out there. I think Burnt, Bradley Cooper, pretty terrible movie in terms of portraying kitchen action and kitchen life. Pretty awful. It's funny. Bradley Cooper also did a show called Kitchen Confidential that I loved. It got canceled after like a season and a half or something, but based on the Anthony Bourdain book. And that was just a fun show. Like it was cool. I'm trying to think of other ones that I like a lot. The Menu. I mean, that's not like that's not like kitchen life or anything. It's just nuts. It was a great movie. Like I love that movie.
Okay.
So,
that's the kind of chef that you guys are trying to get away from, right?
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, maybe so.
Here comes the lightning round, or speed round, faster round. Anyway, we're going to ask the guest a bunch of quicker questions. Here we go.
If you had to pick any character in a book, movie, or TV show who's most similar to you, who would you choose and why?
Definitely Guy Fieri.
Definitely Guy Fieri. He is in a TV show.
Oh man, I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Let me think about that for a second.
Yeah, think about it and come back. When you were growing up, what was your dream job?
Basketball player or lawyer.
Lawyer?
Yeah, my mom told me when I was a kid that I was really good at arguing, and she thought I would be a great lawyer. And for a while there, I was like, all right, I'm going to be a lawyer because I'm good at arguing.
That's funny. The last person we asked that question was a lawyer, and she said that was
she
her
wanted to be
dream
a
job.
chef.
No, that would be even better. She always wanted to be a lawyer. That would be perfect. You guys switch bodies. Who's your role model?
God, you guys are heavy hitting for these rapid fire questions. I thought it was going to be like,
favorite color.
Okay.
Peanut butter or jelly. My role model, it sounds like really corny, but probably my dad. He is a great man. He could cook, and he was really good to me and my brother growing up. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've got so much experience in restaurants and very elaborate dishes and things like that. What's your go-to, I don't want to say fast food, but just kind of like junk food, simple stuff? Like where
like from another restaurant?
Sure. Restaurant, yeah. Waffle House, is it
I do love Waffle House.
Yeah.
I really love Waffle House. The pecan waffle at Waffle House is one of God's gifts to this earth.
Yeah.
My favorite food and the food that I probably would want to eat every single day is either from Yafo Kitchen. There's a few in Charlotte, or Kava. There's also a few in Charlotte. That kind of Mediterranean. It's just fresh and it's light and it's a little bit healthy, and it's not junk food, but that's my go-to. Like I want to eat that every single day.
Nice.
All
right.
that kind of food. Junk food. If we're talking about like
what about junk food? Just kind of garbage stuff. I
pound coffee all day long, and I love Heath candy bars. And if I just need need something that's food, I'm probably doing like Chick-fil-A or something. Like I love the spicy chicken. The spicy chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A is pretty fire. So,
hard to go wrong there. If you had a reality TV show about your life, what would your theme song be?
Probably something like something very 50s, like sitcom, like the Wonder Years theme or something. I'm pretty boring when it comes to like, I live in the suburbs and I've got a dog and I've got a wife and 2 kids and, pretty ho-hum. So
hey, all right.
It wouldn't be very fascinating television.
I live in the dream. That's good. What's the worst advice you've ever got?
The worst advice I've ever gotten.
Or just the worst advice you could think of?
That's a very different question.
Oh man.
If you were trying to give someone bad advice,
Yeah. What would you say?
We'll fine tune these things.
The worst advice. It's not advice so much, but like I know a few chefs who still believe that like what the chef says goes at all times. Like chef is God, and just having conversations with those people like that is like it makes my skin crawl. So it's probably again not advice, but just
Sure.
bad ethos, bad juju. Like it's just.
What's one thing you'd love to be an expert at?
I would love to be an expert at cooking.
Nice.
I'll say that. Just because I mean there's so much.
Well, I
it's
think you're
like
getting there.
you can't learn everything in one lifetime.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things like I dabble with like fermentation, but I'm not an expert at it. I dabble in butchery. I'm not an expert at it. I would love to learn and develop my skill at making like charcuterie. I'm not an expert at it. Nice. So just things within my own field.
Always learning your field. That's funny. That's cool. That's similar to what our last guest said. Something like that. If you could meet anyone, past or present, who would it be? Chefs, past or present, you could meet.
I don't think it'd be a chef. Like I would love to meet Eddie Vedder.
Nice.
Because like I grew up as a huge Pearl Jam fan, and music's a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of sit and talk with him for an hour would be like a thrill.
That'd be the dream.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well,
thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure. Any final thoughts? Any final things to talk about?
peanut butter or jelly?
Peanut butter, crunchy.
Cool.
Good deal.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on. I've got a couple things kind of coming up. Just if I can give a quick little shout out, I've got just announced doing a pop-up dinner at Free Range Brewing in Charlotte.
Yeah.
The night of March 20th with a buddy of mine, Blair Machado, out of Charleston. It's going to be a really cool dinner. I've got that show that airs March 28th, Super Chef Grudge Match. We are doing a watch party for that at Goodyear House in Charlotte.
Nice.
Cool.
And I am still raising money. I was selected to be a pink tie guy for Susan G. Coleman this year, and raise money for breast cancer. So I am raising $10,000 by the end of March. If anyone's interested in donating even like $5, it would be huge. You can go to my Instagram. It's at Chef C. Coleman, and find out more there. But
and I'll put links in the description for you too.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. And did you have a trip to Croatia coming up? Is that right?
There is we're doing
it's like a food
together
tour
kind of a
deal?
food tour,
Okay.
culinary travel thing to Croatia in July, which I'm really excited about as well. That's going to be like 8 days of eating and drinking and visiting wineries and going fishing, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. Well, exciting. Well, thanks very much for joining us. It was been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
The Bandit Room is a production of Span Enterprises, located in sunny Rock Hill, South Carolina. We've been developing, supporting, and growing successful IRS e-filing and business management solutions since 2010. Go to spanenterprises.com now to learn more. The views and opinions expressed in the Bandit Room are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect or state the opinions of Span Enterprises. No information should be considered as tax, legal, or other professional advice.